Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss the level 3 diploma in business management, and we are going to discuss the unit 2 of this level. We have total 6 unit in the level 3 diploma of business management. The first is communication for business that we have discussed before. The second one is the business environment that we are going to discuss today. The third is people management. The fourth is customer service. The fifth is finance in the business. And the sixth one is marketing. So today we are going to discuss the unit 2, that is the business environment. The first learning outcome of this unit is to understand different type of the business and the different business sectors they are operating in. To understand this learning outcome, we have different assessment criteria. Our first assessment criteria is to explain the different types of business activities. So in this slide, I am going to explain the different type of business activities with the help of the picture and with the help of the examples. So first, we have to get the concept, what is business activity? Business activity involves producing, buying, selling, or providing any type of goods and services. For example, if I am producing any clothing and I am buying this clothing, or I have some customer that is buying that clothes from me, so this is the business activity that I am performing. Business activity is basically the foundation of the economy. It's very important part that it is contributing in the economy. We have different business activities, which includes, first is primary activities, the second is secondary activities, the third is tertiary activities. As you can also see in the picture, the primary activities includes the agriculture, the dairy farming, the fishing. The secondary sector include the manufacturing industries, the manufacturing part of the economy, and the tertiary sector includes the service sectors of the economy. So now in this slide, I'm going to explain one by one about the primary, secondary, and tertiary activities. So our first activity is primary activities. Primary activities involve the extraction of natural resources. For example, when we are doing mining and when we are doing farming, then this is primary activities. Then we have secondary activities. The role of secondary activities is to transform the raw material or the natural resources into the product. For example, manufacturing of car or manufacturing of anything else. So in the secondary activities, there are always manufacturing of something. We are converting the raw material into the final finished product. Then we have the tertiary activities. Tertiary activities provide services instead of goods. In the previous two activities, primary and secondary activities, we have the products. And when we are talking about the tertiary activities, then we have different goods. For example, we have services. We don't have goods. We have services in the tertiary activities. For example, retail sector or banking sector that are providing services rather than goods. So we have the next assessment criteria in which we explain business, different type of business sectors. So now I am going to explain these three sectors one by one. The first is private sector. Private sector is usually owned by private individuals or private companies. For example, we have different private sectors here. We have Apple, we have Tesla that are private business sectors. Then we have public sectors. Public sectors are owned by the government and they are providing different public services. For example, NHS. is one of the government organization. Then we have third sector. Third sector are basically the non-profit organization, and they are serving for any type of social cause. For example, charities organization like we have Red Cross. Okay, so now we have the third assessment criteria of first learning outcome, and in this assessment criteria we will compare different form of business ownerships. We have total four type of business ownerships. First, we have to understand what is business ownership. Business ownership defines how our business is legally managed and legally structured. The common form of business ownership include, as you can also see in the picture, we have total four common forms. The first is sole traders, second is partnerships, third is private limited company, and fourth is public limited company. I have also explained number four, sole trader, partnership, private limited, and public limited. So now I am going to explain these business ownership one by one. The first is sole trader. Sole trader is basically the business that is owned by only one person with full control. For example, any local shop owner is the sole trader. He has the full ownership of his shop. The second business ownership include partnership. Partnership include the ownership of two or more people, and they are sharing profit and responsibilities. For example, any law firm that have two or more than two partners that are sharing profits. The third type is the private limited company. The private limited companies include the businesses that are owned by the shareholders, and these shares are not publicly traded, right? For example, IKEA is one of the private limited company. The fourth is public limited company. The public limited company is the company whose shares are sold to the public in the stock market. For example, Coca-Cola, it is public limited company, and the share of the Coca-Cola is on the stock market, and companies uh, this company share is sold to the public. The first assessment criteria to understand this learning outcome is to state the functional areas of the businesses. So first we have to understand the functional areas of the businesses, how many total functional areas of businesses are there. You can also see in the picture there are total six explained functional areas of the business. So first we have to understand what are the functional areas. Functional areas are specialized departments that handle the different tasks of the businesses. It includes human resource department of the business, finance department of the business, operations department of the business, marketing department of the business, customer service department of the business, and procurement department of the business. So our first functional area is the human resource department. Human resource department is basically responsible to manage the recruitment and training and development of the employees, and also to manage the employee relations. It is also the responsibility of the human resource department to ensure the compliance with the labor laws and organizational policies of the organization. Then we have the other activity, that is finance. Finance department is responsible to handle the budgeting, to handle the accounting, and to handle the different financial reporting of the company. It also manages the cash flows, it also manages the investment and financial strategies of the company. So our third functional area of the business is operations. Operations basically oversees the production of different goods or services. The operations department of the business always focus on the quality control, on the efficiency, and on the process improvement of the organization. Then we have fourth functional area, that is marketing. Marketing is useful in developing different strategies, and then these strategies are helpful to promote the product and services of the organization. We can conduct different marketing research, we can manage different advertising campaigns if we are working in marketing department. The fifth functional area of the business is customer service. Customer service basically provides support and assistance to the customer both before and after sales. There are many companies that provide customer service after the sale. So this is an important role of the customer service department. Customer service department also are responsible to handle the complaints, to handle the queries of the company, and they are also responsible in the feedback which help them to improve the customer satisfaction. The fifth functional area is procurement. Procurement sources and purchases the raw materials or services for the company. It is also responsible to manage the supplier relationship, and it is also responsible to negotiate the different contract of the organization. Now we have the third assessment criteria of second learning outcome, and in this assessment criteria, I will try to explain you people that how these functional areas are interrelated with each other. Okay, so now in this slide, I will explain you people that how different business functions are interrelated with each other. What are the connections between them? Here you can see in the picture that there are total six basic functions of the business, and I have made total three combinations of all these six business functions. So the first combination is operations department and HR department. Well, operation department always needs staff, they need employees, they need workforce to do their work. And it is the responsibility of the HR department to recruit the staff for the operations department. These both departments cannot work without each other. For example, the HR department can recruit the or hire the production line workers, and these production line workers are supposed to work for the operations department. The second combination is marketing and finance. It is the responsibility of the marketing department to plan different campaigns for the advertisement of the company, but the marketing department cannot design any campaign or run any advertisement campaign until or unless they don't know about the budget of the company. And it is the responsibility of the finance department to provide the budget to the marketing department so that they can run the campaigns of the advertisement. For example, the finance department is funding for any advertisement campaign to the marketing department. The third combination is customer service and operations. Well, customer service and customer feedback is very important, and it always leads the operations department to improve the efficiency of their product. For example, there is some customer and he raised the complaints about some defect of the product, then it is the duty of the operations department to improve the product quality of that particular product. Now we are going to discuss the third learning outcome of this unit, and in this learning outcome we will understand the internal environment of the business. So first we have to understand what is organizational structure. Organizational structure basically defines that how the responsibilities, how the roles, and how the powers are assigned and how they are coordinated in the organization. And it also determines that how the information flows within the organization, affecting the efficiency and decision making of the company. We have total four organizational structure. The first one is functional structure, second is divisional structure, third is flat structure, and fourth is matrix structure. Now we are going to discuss all these structure one by one. So the first is functional structure. Functional structure is organized by specialized department. For example, marketing department, finance department, HR department. For example, there can be an organization where all the marketing efforts are managed by only one team. So this is the functional structure. The second is divisional structure. Divisional structure is group based, and these groups are based on different product, different services, different regions, and the each division of the company operates like its own business. For example, there is any car company with the separate divisions for the electric vehicles and for the SUVs. The third organizational structure is flat structure. The flat structure have very few management tools, and it always encourage the direct communication and decision making in the organization. For example, it is very common in the small startups where the employees have to report only one CEO. And then we have fourth type of organizational structure, that is matrix structure. In matrix structure, we have dual reporting lines, and employees have to report both functional manager and project manager, unlike in the flat structure where there is only the one CEO to whom employees have to report. But in the matrix structure, there are total two managers with whom employees have to report about the project or whatever they are working on. For example, there is any tech company where developers work under both IT and project heads. So they have to report both IT head and project head. The second assessment criteria for the third learning outcome is to compare the advantage and disadvantages of the different organizational structures. So first we will discuss the advantages of the organizational structures. First, we will discuss the advantage of functional organizational structure. If we talk about the functional structure, then it supports the quick decision making due to its specialized departments. It also encourages the expertise development within each function of the company or the department or the organization. The advantage of the divisional organizational structure is that it supports greater efficiency and it focuses on specific product or region. It also allows flexibility to adapt to market or different regional needs. If we talk about the advantages of the flat organizational structure, then it eliminates bureaucracy, it allows the faster decision, it promotes more agility, it also promotes open communication between all the levels of the employees. Then we have the matrix structure, and we also have various advantages of the matrix structure. For example, in matrix structure, team members are given more autonomy, they are encouraging, there is innovation, there is more flexibility, and this structure also enhance the collaboration across different departments and projects within the organization. The third assessment criteria for the third learning outcome is the comparison of the disadvantages of the different organization structures. So in previous slide we have compared the advantages, now we are going to compare the disadvantages. So the disadvantages of the functional organizational structure is that it reduces the interaction with other areas of the business, which leads to isolated teams, and it can also limit innovation due to the narrow focus on specific functions. Then we have several disadvantages of the divisional structure also. That is, there is often conflict between divisional heads as they compete for the resources, and it also include the duplication of the resources, which can lead to different inefficiencies across the different divisions of the organization. If we talk about the disadvantages of the flat organizational structure, then this can encourage power struggles as leadership roles are less defined, and it may lead to lack of clear direction due to the fewer management levels. Then we have metric structure, and the disadvantages of the metric structure is that employees can become confused with the dual reporting lines, and it leads to the conflicting priorities. For example, employees cannot have the idea that to whom they have to report. There are dual lines, and they might get confused to whom they have to report first. And it also requires significant coordination, which can slow down the decision making. So first we have to understand what is organizational structure. The organization is always divided into specific functions or into specific departments, and each department in the organizational structure has its own manager, and this manager is always responsible for all the operations in his particular department. and these the employees in the any specific departments have to report to their respective manager within the department. There is also a very clear chain of command from top to bottom when we are following the organizational structure in some organization. The communication flows vertically between different levels of the organization, and the departments in the organizations may collaborate with the others depending on the structure. So now we have the fifth assessment criteria of the third learning outcome, in which we conduct the SWOT analysis on some business. First, we have to understand what is SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is basically the tool to identify the strength, to identify the weaknesses, to identify the opportunities, and to identify the threats of the business, right? So first we talk about the strength. So strength of the company can be its strong brand recognition. For example, Apple is one of the global company, and its global presence is its strength. The second strength is skilled workforce. For example, as a technological company, the Apple has many top engineers. So this is its skilled workforce, and this is the another strength for the Apple company. The third strength is the loyal customer base. It is very important for any company to have repeated customer. This can be another strength for the company. The another strength is innovative product line. For example, Tesla's electric vehicles are very innovative, and this innovative product line of the company is its one of the strength. Then let's talk about the weaknesses of the company. Limited market reach of any company can be its weakness. For example, if there is the company and it is selling its product in only one country and it has very limited market reach, then it can be its weakness. The second weakness is high production cost. For example, when any company is using very expensive materials in its production, so it can have the high production cost, that can be its weakness. Another weakness can be poor customer service. For example, the company is getting frequently complaints from its customers, so it can be another weakness for the company. The last weaknesses that we are going to discuss is outdated technology. When the company is using very old software system or very old technology, then it can definitely be the weakness for the company. Now let's talk about the opportunities. The first opportunity is expanding into the new markets. For example, every company has this opportunity to enter into the new market to expand its business operations. The second opportunity for the companies to develop new product line. For example, a company can develop its new mobile application. The third opportunity is partnering with other companies. Like one company can be the partner with the other company. It can go into the joint ventures, which is the best opportunity to expand the business. Uh, the last opportunity is capitalizing on trends. For example, eco-friendly product are very famous now, and people are accepting the eco-friendly product and they are preferring the eco-friendly product. So when the company is capitalizing on these type of trends, so this can be the best opportunity for the company to make its business more profitable. The next point in this SWOT analysis is the threats. uh, the first threat is the new competitors entering into the market. For example, any rival startup. The second threat is the changes in the regulation. For example, there are any stricter environmental laws which can be the threat to the company or its business. Another is the downturn. Economy is very important when you are doing business in any country. So when there is recession, it can affect the sales of the company. Another threat is the shifting consumer preferences. It is very important to consider that what your consumer want, because this can be the threat for the company. Like nowadays the customer is moving toward digital services. They are not very much attracted towards the traditional services. So if your company is not digitalizing its overall process, so it can be the threat for the company. To understand the external environment of the business, we have the first assessment criteria in which we state the different factors which form a business external environment. So we have different external environment factors that we are going to discuss in this slide. First, we have to understand what are the different external environment factors. The different external environment consist of different factors outside the business, and they can influence the performance and decision making of the business. These factors include first is political, then we have economic, then we have social factors, then we have technical factors, then we have legal factors, and at last we have environmental factors. We can also call this pestle analysis. Now we are going to discuss these different factors one by one. First factor is political factor. Political factor include different government policies, different government regulations that can impact different business operations of the company. For example, new rules or regulations by the company, new interest rate policy, new tax rate policy. The second is economic factors. Economic factors are basically the market condition, the interest rate, the inflation, which can affect the business activities of the company. Third is social factors, and it includes different cultural trends, different demographics, and the customer behavior that can influence the demand of the particular product or services. Then we have the technical factor, for example, technological advancement that can change how the business is operating in the environment. The other is the legal factor. These are basically the regulations and different laws, and it is important for the businesses to comply with them. For example, different labor laws. Then we have the environmental factors. Environmental factors include different sustainability and climate change that can affect the business practices. Now we have to understand that how these factors impact the businesses. First is political factor. Uh, as I have described before, that political factors include the different rules and regulations by the government. So, for example, government raised the business taxation, and due to this, the operating cost of the business will also increase. The second is economic factor. Whenever the inflation rises, it will reduce the disposable income of the customers, and when disposable income of the customer got reduced, it will definitely affect the sales of the company. The third is the social factors. Social factor includes the changing attitude and demand of the customers, and when the attitude is changing, then this changing attitude towards certain type of work can also impact the recruitment efforts. The third is technological factors. For example, automation increase the efficiency, while technological trend and disruption shape the different business operations. Then we have the legal factor. For example, new legislation can affect the working hours and it can increase the labor cost. Then we have the environmental factor. For example, businesses are always encouraged to reduce their carbon footprint, and it will definitely positively impact the brand image of the company. Now we have the third assessment criteria of the fourth learning outcome, and in this assessment criteria, we will try to understand that how the businesses can respond to all these changes in the external environment. So first response is being proactive, non-reactive. It is important to anticipate the change and planning ahead to stay ahead of the curve. It is important for the companies to predict the change so they can plan what they can do to overcome with the change. The second response is seeing threat as the opportunities. It is important for the companies to turning the challenges into new possibilities for their innovation and for their growth. The third response to the changes can be working with the force to deliver the changes. It includes engaging the employees in overall process to ensure the smooth transitions and implementations. The fourth response include to innovate to improve the efficiencies. It is important for the companies to continuously seeking new ways to streamline the operations and to stay competitive in the market. So, for example, we have political factor, which includes government policies, political stability, corruption, and trade restriction, which can influence the business operation. The opportunity here is favorable tax policies can boost the profitability of the company. And if you talk about the threat, then any unstable government can also cause disruption in the international trade. And if you talk about the challenge here, then compliance with the environmental and labor laws can increase the operational cost of the company. If we talk about economic factors, then economic growth, inflation, interest rate, and unemployment rates can also affect the purchasing power and business performance of the company. If we talk about the opportunity here, then economic growth can also lead to increased demand for the product or services by the customers. And if we talk about threat, then rising inflation can also reduces the disposable income of the customers, which can impact the sales of the company. And if we talk about the challenge, then fluctuations in exchange rates can also affect the pricing and profitability of the company. The third factor is the social factor, which include the population trends, cultural barriers, lifestyle attitude, which impact the consumer preferences and workforce availability. Opportunity here can be growing health consciousness opens up different markets for the wellness product. Threat can be that changing career attitude may create different challenges to recruit the new employees. The challenge can be that it can be challenging to adapt to diverse cultural expectations across the global market. The fourth factor is technical, which include the automation, technological innovation, and different research and development activities, which can influence the operational efficiencies and competitiveness of the company. If we talk about the opportunity here, then investing in automation can improve the overall productivity of the company and it can reduce the cost. And if we talk about the threat, then any rapid technological change can render current systems obsolete. And if we talk about the challenge, then keeping up with the technological innovation always requires ongoing investment. That can be the major challenge. Fifth factor is the legal, which includes employment laws, consumer protection, and health and safety regulation that shape the business practices. Well, opportunity here can be the compliance with health and safety laws, which enhance the company reputation. The threat can be stringent employment laws, which can increase the labor cost for the company, and it can be the challenging to navigate the complex copyright and patent laws because it can be time consuming for the companies. The sixth factor is the environmental factor, which include climate change, environmental policies, and natural disasters that can disrupt different business operations and their supply chains. Opportunity here can be the support for renewable energy, which offers the new business ventures. If we talk about the threats, the natural disasters can disrupt the supply chain and operations of the company, and it can be the challenging to meet the recycle standard and reduce the carbon footprints. So the first assessment criteria to understand the fifth learning outcome is to outline how the different microeconomic factors impact the business. So first we have to understand what is microeconomic factors. We have different microeconomic factors. It include buyer behavior, determinants of demand, determinants of supply, market equilibrium, economies of sales. And at last we have type and size of the competition. So now we are going to discuss the impact of these microeconomic factor on the business. If we talk about the buyer behavior, then any change in the customer preferences will directly affect the sales of the product and strategies of the business. If we talk about the determinant of the demand, then different factors, for example, income, price, or taste, can influence the quantity of the goods consumer want to buy. If you talk about determinant of supply, then technology, cost of production, and availability of different resources can impact how much a business can produce. If we talk about market equilibrium, then the balance between the supply and demand sets the price point and affect the sales volume. And then we have economies of scale. So the larger production always leads to lower the costs per unit, which increase the profitability of the company. Then at last we have the type and size of the competition. So the number and strength of the competitor influence the market share and pricing strategies of the company. So we have different macroeconomic factors that include economic growth, employment and unemployment rates, inflation, taxation, and interest rates. Now we are going to discuss how these factors impact the businesses. If we talk about the economic growth, then higher growth always increase the consumer spending, which leads to greater demand for the product or services of the company. And if we talk about the employment or unemployment rates, then high employment always boosts the purchasing power of the consumer, while high unemployment rate also always reduces the demand. Then we have inflation. Rising prices erode the purchasing power, which increase the business cost and reduce the consumer spending. If we talk about the taxation, then higher taxes can always reduce the profit and it can also increase the cost of good, which in result affect the pricing strategies of the company. If we talk about the interest rate, then higher interest rate always increase the borrowing cost for the company and it will directly impact the investment and expansion plan of the business. In this slide, we will explain how government influence on the business. It includes various things, for example, political doctrine, fiscal policy, monetary policy, and supply side policy. So first we will discuss the political doctrine. Political doctrine includes when government influences the businesses to align with their political goal. For example, promoting the national industries or social welfare. If we talk about the fiscal policy, then through the taxation and government spending, they regulate economic activity, which helps them to control the inflation and stimulate the growth. Then we have the monetary policy. By adjusting the interest rate and controlling money supply, the government manage the inflation and stabilize the size of the economy and stabilize the economy. Then we have the supply side policies. These policies always aim to improve the productivity and efficiency in the economy, and often through deregulation and innovation incentives, they can do these things. Now we have the fourth assessment criteria in which we will try to explain how international economy influences the business economic environment. First, we have the globalization. Globalization is helpful to expand the market and increase the competition, and it also allows the businesses to access to new opportunities and to access new customers in the global market. Then we have free trade agreement, and these free trade agreement are helpful to reduce the barriers in trade. For example, different tariffs and tax and quotas, which make it very easy for the businesses to operate their business in the international market. Then we have the transport infrastructure. So efficient global transportation network always decrease the cost and it also improve the supply chain reliability for the companies. Then we have different organizations, for example, IMF, International Monetary Fund, and WTO, that is World Trade Organization. It provides the financial support and regulate trade rules, which ensures stability and fair practices in the international or global market. Thank you so much. This is all about the Unit 2 of the Level 3 Diploma in Business Management. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Thank you so much.